Marvel's Eternals has broken new ground in that it is the first MCU feature film to receive a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. To be clear, it is not trolls, but professional critics leaving these negative reviews, and some of them are really savage. How bad does the movie have to be for a professional critic to put out a headline like this about a Marvel movie? Well, I've seen it, so we're about to find out. I will begin this review by providing a brief story overview that will feature some mild spoilers, before going through what I liked, what I disliked, my final verdict, and where I think this all went so horribly wrong. The movie tells the story of the Eternals, a race of immortals who don't age. They serve the Celestials, and for thousands of years, they have been under instruction to protect Earth from attacking deviants. At some point in time, they will get to go back to their homeworld of Olympus, or so they have been led to believe. You see, the Celestials withheld some vital information from the Eternals, both about the true purpose of their mission, their intentions for planet Earth, and about the Eternals themselves. The story is kicked into action when the deviants return after centuries of inactivity. But unlike past encounters, they are now actively hunting Eternals. On top of that, planet Earth itself is in upheaval, and someone in their own ranks may be double-crossing them. With that, the stage is set for Marvel's Eternals, directed by Chloe Zhao. I would love to be able to say that The Eternals is a movie that explores the origins and evolution of human society, the passage of time, living life, and mortality. I'd be lying if I did though, because the movie merely touches on any of those themes. The themes are good, and if explored properly, they could have made for a great movie. But this is not a great movie. It's not even a good movie, or a passable movie. Honestly, it's a pretty bad movie. One of the major reasons for that is that it is trying to do too much at the same time, and because of that, it fails at everything it is trying to do. This movie needed to either scale back what it wanted to do into something that could be done within the confines of a feature film running time, or to increase the running time, restructuring itself into a miniseries. As it stands, Marvel's Eternals is both too long and too short at the same time, and that makes for a poorly structured narrative mess that seemingly doesn't know what it wants to be or what it wants to do, which is not to say all is bad. Whether it was intentional from the filmmaker's point of view or not, it is my opinion that the heart and soul of the movie is the character Sprite, or gender-bent Pinocchio as I like to call her, portrayed by Leah McHugh. She was the absolute highlight of the movie, and the one where the themes best shone through, as she is the one character for whom life eternal is a curse rather than a blessing, since she is forever stuck at an age where life cannot truly be lived. The flip side to her character is Kumail Nanjiani's Kingo, who loves and makes the absolute most of life everlasting. These two opposites really work, and show what this movie had the potential to be. Sadly, that potential was left on the table. The rest of the cast all do what they can with what they have to work with, but that's where the limitation is. There are fundamental issues in story and structure here that no actor can overcome. I'm also happy to report that the much-touted diversity and inclusion isn't pushed to the forefront in unnatural ways. Instead, it's just there, taken for granted as a part of nature. Also, the movie's score was just fine, didn't stand out one way or the other. Now that we've addressed the good and the neutral, we're left with the bad, and sadly that includes everyone and everything else. From script, to direction, to design, to cinematography, and all the way up to editing. The movie is a tonal mess, jumping back and forth between different atmospheres. The screen story doesn't live up to the themes, and at times, The movie has an almost dreamlike quality. Not because they intended it, I think, but because the narrative is just a bit out of whack. To paraphrase the Rotten Tomatoes consensus, the movie tries to soar, but it trips and falls face first into the ground. In a ranking of all MCU feature films, I would put this at or very near the bottom. How could Marvel put out something this bad? As the producer and driving force behind the MCU, Kevin Feige is ultimately to blame for all of the Eternals' shortcomings. Where I think he stepped wrong specifically, though, was in hiring Chloe Zhao to direct. The best MCU movies have always been the ones where the director's sensibilities line up with the movie's tone, character dynamics, and/or emotional touchstone. When all of this lines up, the director can easily work within the parameters of the MCU and still lift an already good script to another level. Like for instance James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Russos did with Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Here, Chloe Zhao wasn't able to do that, and to me at least. The obvious reason for why not is that her sensibilities as a filmmaker just don't match what was required to make the Eternals take off. Her bleak, Denis Villeneuve-inspired documentary style is simply not a fit with a property like Jack Kirby's Eternals. Even if this movie is mostly based on the later Neil Gaiman iteration, which also was a mistake. The one who should have recognized that was Kevin Feige. He didn't, and the movie suffered for it. That is a shame, because in the hands of someone with the right sensibilities, and possibly in a miniseries format, this could have been something special. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.